Michael Morales will destroy Islam Makhachev.
You get coming up, goes down again, that'll do it!
Oh, here is the Undefeated!
19 fights, 0 losses, 14 knockouts, and a nickname that fits him perfectly, Spiderboy. Long limbs, freakish reach, and a striking style that looks almost impossible to time. Right now, one name keeps popping up in every welterweight conversation: Michael Morales.
Michael Morales looking for a title shot against the champion Islam Makhachev. Still undefeated, 19-0.
Boss, Dana. Hey, Dana. I bet. I need bet. Michael Morales!
This kid is now 19-0. This kid has so many finishes. And he just knocked out the #2 guy in the world in the first round.
If you're in the welterweight division, be careful.
Islam Makhachev. No one's more disciplined than that guy. He's a legit killer that can do everything.
And you have now joined the very, very small amount of people that have been able to capture world titles in 2 different weight classes.
Man, this is the dream. All my life for this to world. Yeah!
And after Islam Makhachev just became a 2-division champion at UFC 322, the question everyone in the MMA world is asking is simple: could Michael Morales actually be the guy who ends Makhachev's welterweight reign before it really gets going?
Michael Morales is the backup fighter for Garry versus Islam Makhachev.
Before we get into it, if you're new here, this channel breaks down the biggest matchups and storylines in the sport. So if that's your thing, go ahead and hit subscribe, because today we're diving deep into the fighter they're calling a legitimate worst-case scenario for the double champ. Let's get into it.
Fuimos muy pobres, muy pobres.
Michael Morales is still unbeaten.
Michael Morales was born on June 24th, 1999 in Pasaje, Ecuador. And honestly, his story starts with grappling, not striking. His mother, a judo black belt and international referee, had him on the mats by age 5. By 10, he'd moved into wrestling, cleaning up at youth tournaments before his father brought him to a coach in Makala at 14 to start real MMA training. He turned pro at just 16 years old. Think about that for a second. While most kids his age were worrying about high school, Morales was already fighting professionally in Ecuador. He grinded his way through regional promotions, picked up a welterweight title along the way, and eventually made the move to Tijuana, Mexico to sharpen his skills before earning a UFC contract on Dana White's Contender series in 2021.
You get coming up, goes down again, that'll do it! Michael Morales!
What's wild is that while he was building this record, he wasn't living some pampered fighter life. Early on, he was working a job at a naval boat factory just to make ends meet while training. This wasn't a guy who got everything handed to him. He built this from the ground up, fighting in small Ecuadorian promotions in cities like Machala, Cuenca, and Guayaquil before anyone outside the region knew his name. By the time he signed with a Mexican promotion in 2021, he was already a perfect 10-0, and his decision win to convince Dana White he belonged on the biggest stage in the sport. And since stepping into the octagon, he hasn't lost a single round that's mattered. 19 wins, 0 losses. That's the number that should stop you in your tracks. 14 of those wins are by knockout. 1 submission. Only 4 have gone to a judge's scorecard. This isn't a guy who's grinding out close decisions, he's finishing people. Since debuting in the UFC in January 2022 against Trevin Giles, Morales has gone 7 for 7. He stopped Adam Fugit, Trevin Giles, Neil Magny, former title challenger Gilbert Burns, and most recently, Sean Brady, all by TKO. and all within the first round except for Fugit. 3 of those wins earned him Performance of the Night bonuses. He was even named the UFC's 2025 Fighter of the Year by multiple outlets and landed on more than one Fighter of the just 26 years old, with his ranking sitting at number 3 in the welterweight division. The trajectory is almost frightening. Let's go a little deeper on how some of these wins actually happened, because the pattern tells you everything you need to know. Against Max Griffin and Jake Matthews, both durable, experienced UFC veterans, Morales didn't get the finish, but he still won every round clearly, showing he can grind out a decision when a knockout isn't there. Against Neil Magny, a longtime top 10 fixture in the division, he needed less than 5 minutes to get him out of there. Against Gilbert Burns, a former title challenger who had shared the cage with legends of the sport, Morales needed just 3 minutes and 39 seconds. And most recently, against Sean Brady, a wrestler many considered one of the toughest stylistic tests in the entire division, Morales stopped him in the very first round. That's the scary part. He's not just beating gatekeepers, he's blowing through legitimate top 10 and top 5 caliber opponents, and doing it fast. Here's what makes Morales genuinely different. He's 6 feet tall with a 79-inch reach in a division where most guys are giving up inches to him, not the other way around. His striking numbers back up the eye test. He's landing over 5.5 significant strikes per minute at nearly 50% accuracy, while absorbing barely over 3 strikes per minute himself. That gap is enormous, but the scariest part isn't just the volume, it's the power. Watch any of his knockouts and you'll see the same pattern. Long looping shots that don't look textbook clean, but land with knockout force because of his range and timing. Analysts have pointed out that his distance management is actually elite. He sits at a spot where he can hit you, but you can't hit him back. And it's not just striking. His takedown defense sits around 89%, and his judo and wrestling background means that even when fights hit the mat, he's shown a knack for scrambling right back to his feet. Basically, he can hurt you standing, and he's a nightmare to hold down. That combination is exactly why his name keeps getting linked to the champ. So why are so many analysts and fans calling this the scariest potential fight for Islam Makhachev at welterweight? First, the size. Makhachev looked big at lightweight, but at welterweight, he's actually an average-sized fighter for the division. Morales, on the other hand, is one of the tallest, longest fighters in the entire weight class. That reach difference alone could be a massive problem on the feet. Second, the power. Makhachev has fought a lot of dangerous strikers, but rarely anyone with the kind of one-shot knockout ability Morales has shown. If Morales lands clean, there's a real chance the fight simply doesn't make it to the championship rounds. Third, the wrestling. This is the part that surprises people. Morales isn't just a striker standing there waiting to counter his judo and wrestling base. Means he's genuinely difficult to take down, and even harder to keep down. That takes away the exact game plan Makhachev has used to dominate nearly everyone he's faced. In interviews, Morales himself has pushed back on the idea that Makhachev's wrestling would simply run through him, pointing to his own scrambling ability and comfort working against high-level grapplers. He's also made it clear he doesn't see Makhachev as untouchable, just another opponent standing between him and a title. Makhachev, for his part, hasn't rushed to give Morales a shot, joking that he'd need to be finished again before earning it. While Morales has fired back that the champion is human, just like anyone else. Here's the honest breakdown. Makhachev is widely considered one of the greatest fighters of this era, and his wrestling and control are elite. But Morales brings something very few of Makhachev's past opponents had: legitimate one-punch knockout power, combined with a frame that's genuinely hard to wrestle with. If this fight ever happens, it likely comes down to one question: can Morales keep it standing and land clean before Makhachev finds a way to close the distance and get this to the mat? If he can, this has real finish written all over it. If he can't, Makhachev's pedigree could take over. Either way, it's the kind of fight that decides whether Morales is just a top contender or the future face of the welterweight division. So that's the case for why Michael Morales Spiderboy is being called Islam Makhachev's worst nightmare at welterweight. Do you think Morales gets the shot next, or does the title stay out of reach for now? Drop your prediction in the comments, and if you enjoyed this breakdown, make sure to like and subscribe for more. Until next time, peace out.
Islam Makhachev looking to extend his record to 17 wins. If he does that, he'll have the longest winning streak in the history of the UFC. Right now, he's tied, and Anderson Silva at 16.
Garry taking on Islam Makhachev for the welterweight strap. Now, we're going to break it down. Islam Makhachev's last fight where he beat JDM. Islam's doing a good job of keeping that nice little distance between the two and just looking for his opportunity to get the takedown. Right there. Single leg. And this is what Islam does very well. He can grapple, he can fight on the feet as well. Good footwork. Nice leg kick. Nice shot. Boom. That's the nasty monster you have to deal with when you fight Islam Makhachev.
UFC 330 Makhachev versus Machado Garry takes place this weekend, and I'm going to go through the entire card.
UFC 330 Makhachev versus Garry final breakdown. His fighting style, his knockouts, his records. Is this Irish boy the next Islam, or can he even beat Islam? Or does Islam become the longest win streak in UFC history?
I think Islam is definitely one of the greatest fighters of all time. Some guys are just chosen to do great things, and I think he's one of those guys.
2, 1, face off. Face forward, please, guys.
He hasn't lost in 10 years, 16 straight wins. One win away from a record nobody has touched since Anderson Silva. That's Islam Makhachev.
Yeah, this is the much competitive division right now, welterweight. Sure, 100%. Like a lot of young guys who fought today. Next week's gonna fight couple guys, and also Kamaru, Tapuria, you know, all killers want to take my belts. No, I don't give it up.
Standing across from him is a guy who's been more famous for the noise around his personal life than anything he's done in the cage, which is a mistake, because Ian Machado Garry might be the single most dangerous test Makhachev has ever faced.
I don't know what it is. I won't say hate. Your opinion on the guy, based upon all the shit that happened, this shitstorm online about his wife and all the rest of it. Don't let that blur you on this kid.
This is UFC 330. This is the full breakdown, the records, the styles, the path to victory for both men, and my real prediction. Let's get into it.
Australia don't have wrestling.
Champion of the world, Islam Makhachev!
He's got the arm.
And there's the tap.
Look at the shoulder pressure, though. Look at Dover's face. Oh, he got it.
Kick from Pasaje. Huge moment in round one. They don't do it. And
shoots. Oh, he's got to be careful with the darts here.
There's the tap. And still.
Start with Makhachev. 28 wins, 1 loss, 17 of those by finish. He ran through the lightweight division, took the title off Charles Oliveira, and defended it more times than anyone in UFC lightweight history, more than his own mentor, Khabib Nurmagomedov. Then he moved up a full weight class to welterweight and won gold there too, becoming just the 11th 2 division champion in UFC history.
Right. Oliveira's a black belt. Moicano's a black belt, but the moment they hit the ground, those guys don't even move. Right. They're stuck. From the moment he puts them down, they're kind of stuck. And then when they do take an attempt, when they do take a chance, he jumps on his dart show, man, and then it's over.
It just makes you wonder, like, who is in the 155-pound division that's even a compelling challenger? Islam Makhachev. Fuck, dude goes up one weight class, goes up to 170. He was the 55-pound most dominant champion ever, most title defenses at 55 ever. Just dominates at 170. Like, every round. People are saying it's boring, but listen, man, it's boring if you're a casual. The fact that he was able to do it every round, it was a little frustrating because you want to jack the try to adjust, but he couldn't, man.
Gary's resume is quieter, but it's just as real. 17 wins, 1 loss, a close decision to Shavkat Rakhmonov, one of the scariest welterweights of the last few years. Since then, he's beaten Carlos Pratas, the only man to ever finish Pratas inside the octagon, and dismantled former champion Bilal Muhammad on his way to this title shot. He's not here by accident. He earned it fight by fight.
A lot of people coming. Thank you.
You can't talk about this fight without mentioning the shadow hanging over it. Makhachev trained under Khabib's own father. Garry has spent his career being tied to Conor McGregor, a Dagestani wrestler against an Irish striker. Fighting for a welterweight title, people are calling it the sequel to the biggest rivalry the sport has ever produced. Garry leaned into that framing hard, calling it Khabib's guy versus McGregor's guy. Makhachev, on the other hand, brushed it off almost instantly, essentially saying it's a knockoff of the real thing, and honestly, he's right. There's only one McGregor-Khabib. Anderson Silva's 16-fight win streak took 7 years to build and stood for over a decade. Makhachev tied that number by beating Jack Della Maddalena. One more win at UFC 330, and he doesn't just match Silva, he passes him, and stands alone as the owner of the longest winning streak in UFC history. Gary's motivation is different, but just as heavy. He spent years calling himself the best welterweight on the planet. After his only loss, he had an excuse: he was young, and he was fighting the most feared man in the division at the time. That excuse doesn't exist anymore. If he loses this fight, there's no version of that loss where he gets to say he made progress. It's put up or shut up. Here's where it gets interesting, because on paper, this styles matchup is genuinely unpredictable. Makhachev's game plan almost never changes: smothering top control, suffocating chain wrestling, breaking people down piece by piece until the finish comes. Every style that's been thrown at him has eventually failed. He's already said publicly that he expects to close the distance, get the takedown, and finish the fight before it goes to the scorecards. But Garry brings something Makhachev genuinely hasn't dealt with before. Against Rakhmonov and Bilal Muhammad, 2 elite-level grapplers, Garry stuffed the vast majority of takedown attempts thrown at him, including a perfect night defensively against Muhammad over 3 rounds. That's real, tested takedown defense against real competition. And then there's the frame. Garry stands 6'3" with a 74-inch reach, the tallest welterweight on the roster. Makhachev has spent his entire career at 5'10", and he has never fought anyone with a size and range advantage like this. If Garry can stay on the outside, pick him apart with kicks and jabs, and force him to chase, that's a completely different fight than anything Makhachev has ever experienced. But here's the counter to that. Taller fighters are usually easier to take down than short, compact, low center of gravity fighters, which is exactly the body type that's given Makhachev his only real trouble in recent fights. More height often means more leverage for the wrestler to work with. So even though this fight looks terrifying for Makhachev on the feet, there's a real chance he actually has an easier time getting Garry to the mat than he did against shorter, stockier opponents. The question isn't whether Makhachev will try to take Garry down.